Dear colleagues, welcome to the fourth Survival Strategies in TEFL, a series of LinkedIn audio events in which distinguished colleagues share their views on thorny teaching issues. This series aims to act as a forum in which people can express their own personal views freely and share them with the international educator community. In today's discussion, we're talking about a very trendy term, teacher empowerment or education empowerment. More and more teachers use it, though it sounds pretty vague. Our guest today is the right person to explain what teacher empowerment is and how it can be achieved and why it is necessary. You can ask her questions at the end of towards the end of the session. Ep.4 has just turned 35 years in teaching, an international NLP and coaching trainer and training evaluator. Effie is the creator of Neuro Learning Power, the evidence-based structured mentoring method, supporting by her research on resilience and well-being for her master's in science in applied psychology. NLP empowers educators to discover strategies that help themselves and their students to thrive. And I really like the student part, as well as the teacher. Effie, welcome aboard.
And so great to be with you, Dimitris. Thank you for the invitation. It's beautiful to see so many people from around the globe. I can see different names. I can guess some of the nationalities. Empowerment is a term that's new, as you said, but also very, very essential, really essential for our daily lives as teachers and mentors of students.
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell us later on exactly what empowerment is, but the question raised here is why, obviously, I guess empowerment is something good, but why is it relevant to us as educators?
Dimitri, there is an experience, a story of mine that you don't know, I haven't told you, I've never told you, but I want to share with us today, And to me, empowerment is a real experience, a life experience. Because when I was a young educator, mother of two, and an owner of a language school here in Athens, Greece, I suffered burnout, stress-related burnout. And it was a very difficult time for me, a very challenging time, as there was no way for me to explain why I wasn't happy, why I wasn't satisfied with my life. I had two beautiful kids, a supportive husband, and a company, a career that just started. So it was just inexplicable. And for me, empowerment has been happening all these years. I've been empowered not just once, not just twice, but till then, I've found ways to empower myself. And that's why I'm here today to discuss this. Yes, it was part of my it is part of my research, but it's also part of my life. So instead of theorizing, I'd like us to go really into the matter and explain what empowerment is in different terms, in real life terms. And I'd like to ask everyone, how do you wake up in the morning when you know that there's a challenging day ahead? What is it that you tell yourself? May I invite you to imagine yourself lying in bed and just opening up your eyes. Your mind is blank for a moment, and then you start doing something or thinking of something. What is it that you do when you know that there's a challenging day ahead?
Well, it's hard for people to actually answer right now, yes. But I'm sure they have something in mind.
Yes, that's what I want them to do. What I want us to do. Dimitri, what you do? What do you do?
Well, to be honest...
This was not expected, but it's interesting, isn't it?
It is. Well, I think it depends. I mean, when I know that I'm going to have a hard day at work, obviously I don't really feel very comfortable or really nice. You know, I wish I could stay in bed, do nothing.
And it makes sense, right? The spontaneous thing is to say, oh my gosh, not today. I wish I could wake up tomorrow instead of today. And it's possible that you start, ruminating about problems and people and students maybe, and so on. Well, empowerment in this case would be deciding to take control of your own life and make positive decisions based on what you want. So instead of thinking of the problem, focus on the solution. Think in your head, like have the idea of what can I do today? Oh, it's going to be a very interesting day, for example. I wonder how well I'm going to handle that colleague today that is challenging me. So deciding, taking control of your life, personal empowerment, is closely linked to attributes like self-esteem, self-confidence, optimism, trust. And the true empowerment comes when we decide to convert all this into action. So if you think about it, and as we say in LP, to succeed in anything, we need to believe that it's humanly possible, that we can do it, that it's worth the effort, and finally, and most importantly, that we are worth it. So the moment I believe in my worth, and I trust what I know and I can do, that is the moment where I can turn empowerment into action. And this is the first part then, personal empowerment. Was it, I don't know how clear it was, but...
Well, obviously it has to do with our personal goals. I think it's quite clear. But doesn't that depend on others as well?
That's a very good, thank you. Very beautiful. So, yes, of course, it makes perfect sense. And I'd like to invite everyone now to think of that same day, the same challenging day. So you empowered yourself, you improved your self-talk, and we're going to talk more about how we can empower ourselves later. So we did what we could to empower ourselves. We go to class, and it was indeed, it is better than we expected. It's still a challenging day. So the day finishes at, I don't know what time everyone finishes school, maybe at noon or later at night for people who work here in language schools. So you come out of the class and you're exhausted. And someone comes up to you, a colleague comes up to you, and there's a slap on the back and maybe a nice word, or a smile, even a smile, or a willing ear to listen to you, to whatever you've gone through that day. How does this feel?
Obviously it feels really nice, and it takes away lots of pressure.
It does, doesn't it? So this is the other face, let's say, the other facet of empowerment, which is social empowerment. We talk a lot about resilience, and my research has gone deep into the subject, and it's another how can we put it, trendy term, resilience. And when we say resilience, obviously we mean have the power, the internal power of bouncing back from difficulties that life throws at us. Now with teachers, it's different. And of course, resilience is a key factor for teacher well-being and success. For teachers, it's connected with others. We talk about relational resilience in literature, and what it really means is being able to not just come back, not just to bounce back from difficulties, but also to grow and thrive through relationships. And it's actually our ability to remain resilient, which goes beyond the experience that we have at that moment. It's the capacity to keep equilibrium and the sense of commitment and agency in everyday worlds where we teach, and we know what kind of challenges exist in those worlds, especially during the pandemic, existed and exist during the pandemic. So it's not just personal resources, it's a collective issue. And if we think of the social brain hypothesis that was proposed by Danver back in 1998, what happens is that the theory says is that we're biologically created to connect. The human brain is so big, so extended, says the theory, the hypothesis, because it's created to connect with others, to deal with social interactions. Isn't it amazing? So it means that we are social beings, and social interactions help us be the best we can be. And the concept of relational resilience is a dynamic concept. It's the ability to connect, reconnect, or resist disconnection. And we'll talk later, a bit later, why we sometimes want to disconnect. Not in a healthy, but in an unhealthy way. So
I saw many hearts flashing there. People empathize. They've been there. They felt that.
Oh yes. I think we all have at some point. So what we believe in this theory, the relational resilience theory, says is that social relationships help us grow, and all psychological growth happens within relationships. So there are two main ways that teachers can do that. The one is with support among teachers, like the tap in the shoulder that we said before, or like peer groups after conferences that we were talking about, remember a few days ago, and how important they are. And on the other hand, we also talk about mentoring relationships. But you see, Dimitri, isn't it true that during the pandemic especially, these groups helped us so much, empowered us so much to deal with challenges and to deal with everything that happened, not just deal with it, but grow. We learned so many things from colleagues, isn't it true? From people who we knew before, or people who didn't actually know before, and we got connected, and they helped us not just stay afloat, but develop relational resilience.
And if I may, it clearly showed how important it is for someone to be a member of a personal learning network, to be a member of a community, because it wasn't only technical support that people would get or share information, but it was also psychological support. Exactly. And another important focus in social empowerment is mentoring relationships, as I said before, because if you think that mentoring is a reciprocal relationship, it's so important that mentors have impact on our satisfaction, our identity, our self-efficacy, and they provide encouraging and actually it's scaffolding that we do with mentors, isn't it? Shall we define mentorship a bit? Because I'm sure that lots of people have a lot of different things in mind.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, if we think of a mentor as a mentor was a real person actually. In ancient Greece, he was the person that a friend of Ulysses, Odysseus, that Ulysses asked to take care of his son. while he was away. It didn't go well as a relationship, which shows that mentoring relationships need to have specific characteristics. This is a long discussion. Just a very quick thing here. So a mentor is a person who is in the context of our work and can support us in growing our skills in different ways, keeps us accountable, asks questions, and we can share our experiences in confidentiality, of course, and learn from them in very short, in very broad terms. So if we think of mentoring as a support in developing resilience, it gives us, it's an important relationship, and it gives us a sense of connectedness, a sense of agency, a sense of competence. And so mentor teachers play a significant role in building an effective self-identity for teachers. There was a very nice discussion in the 4th conference for education a few hours ago about teacher self-identity. So yes, mentors help us build that self-identity as teachers, contrary to social norms that say teachers do nothing or are tired or whatever there is there. And so connections is the key. As Brené Brown, I don't know if you've heard her book, if you've read the book Dare to Lead, and what she says is we are made to connect. Connections is a natural. Let me read it for you. I love this quote, really. Connections is why we're here. It's what gives us purpose and meaning to our lives. It's neurobiologically how we're wired. It's why we're here.
That sounds fantastic. So let me recap so far. Let me see if I got the main idea. Very often we wake up in the morning, as you correctly pointed out, and we think, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm all alone. But in fact, there might be a group of teachers who are willing to support us, or it would be a good idea to be, I would say in inverted commas, adopted by a mentor, somebody who would lead us, somebody who would share advice. And of course you mentioned connecting as much as possible.
Exactly. So there is personal empowerment, is the way I treat myself so that I give that power starts from within, and I believe in my own worth and self-efficacy. And it's also social empowerment, or what I take from my extended or near group of peers, and also a mentor. Yes. So far we've seen two different aspects of empowerment, and I don't know. It would be interesting to see what experiences our listeners have had so far. So if you have so far, if you've had a social empowerment by a peer group, could you please put a heart? Put up a heart as a reaction. Have you been empowered by a group? By a peer group? Okay, me too. I have to put myself a heart as well. Yes, Muhammad has. And yes, by quite a few people actually have been empowered by the peer group. And I guess this was more true during the pandemic. But this is, as you said, these are very, very important personal development groups that help us. Okay, and people who have had the experience of a mentoring relationship, put a thumb mentoring, you see, is not that, yes, me too. It's not that common in education, although it should. And I think it's going to grow as we go on, especially as people go into formal training. Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, yes, Dmitry, you want to ask us?
Yes, I think it's pretty clear to most of us that we're not alone out there, even though we feel that we're alone. And if we turn to people around us, to peers, we might need, we might actually receive help. What about the personal part? If that doesn't interrupt your train of thoughts, because I'm sure that lots of people might think, yes, all right, I can easily understand how other people can help me, or they might have already helped me. What about the personal part, though?
How I can help myself, you mean?
Exactly, yes.
Yes, all right. I definitely want to discuss this later on. But before that, I'd like to point out how important empowerment is for our students. Our empowerment is for our students. You see, whether we realize it, well, we want it or not, we teach who we are. And since we do that, it's important to realize what kind of moral exemplars we are for our students. Are we exemplars of stress, of disempowerment, or empowerment and belief in ourselves and our powers and trust in other people? If we think about it, it's very often we teachers, concentrate on what we can do for our students instead of what we can do for ourselves. But if you think about it, I don't know if you've traveled recently by airplane. If you have, and you paid any attention to the air hostess instructions at the beginning, we all remember that there are instructions about when the oxygen masks fall. So what's the instruction about when the oxygen masks fall? Whose mask do we put on first if we have kids with us, our children with us?
Yeah, let me answer on behalf of the audience. Surprisingly, I mean, as a father, I would probably put the mask first on my child's face. This is my instinct. However, what makes sense is first to support yourself, because if you're well and you can function and you can still breathe, obviously you can help your child with the mask. So I think the basic idea there is that you need to make sure that you are well so that you can actually look after others, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly. And as teachers, because we're on a mission to help everyone, we forget that. But actually, this is what we need to remember. We need to stay safe and healthy so that we can help our students to grow. And when we are feeling well, our students cannot resist to the joy of life that we emanate. And it's our responsibility as educators to teach them how to teach their brains to be happy, so that they don't have to learn it in the hard way later on. And I know, Dimitris, and this is true for everyone, happiness and well-being is not taught at university. We don't know. Is it true?
Yes, I think that's true.
Yes, and it's not in our mindset as teachers to look after ourselves, especially to look after ourselves first. But we must look, on the other hand, we think, oh, I mustn't look weak, I must look strong, and feel and show that I feel good or well. But you see, positive emotions literally open us as human beings. If I am well, it's as if I'm blooming, and like flowers with sunlight. And my students cannot but learn this from me. because we're equipped with the right equipment, neurobiologically, we're equipped with mirror neurons. And mirror neurons is something we discovered not long ago, considering science time. We discovered that we are equipped with special neurons that reflect other people's tone of voice, gestures, expressions of face expressions, and surprisingly, we also reflect their emotions. And it's not something we can control. If I am not well, my students will reflect it whether I want it or not. And so now that we know how important well-being is, now it's time to think of what we can do for ourselves so that we are well. There's a lot of things that we can do and say, but I have, if you allow me and you think it's practical, I have some practical ideas for everybody.
I think you're more than welcome to share them with us.
Oh, great. We have the time, you think?
Oh yes, we do have time. Don't worry about that.
Great. All right. So, where do we start? As you said.
That's a good question.
Yes. So, first of all, the oxygen masks made it clear that we start with ourselves. And there are some strategies that are very, very effective and practical. One thing that for teachers especially, this is a special edition for teachers, special empowerment edition for teachers. We teachers feel we want to help everyone be happy. And we want to solve our students' problems if possible, and our colleagues sometimes. So we feel we want to say yes to everything that we were asked. And if we say no, excuse me, let me have some water first. Look after myself, right? So if we say no, we feel guilty. And if we say yes, we feel exhausted. So it looks like an impasse. So it's important that we learn to say yes to no. It's important that we allow ourselves to say no to things that we know are beyond our limits. Because this is the way to set boundaries to other people taking advantage of our time. And you see there are as many students as we can help every single year. And if I'm depleted of resources, I won't be here to help anyone else next year. So when I set clear boundaries and I learn to say no, every yes I say is no to something that's good to me. That's maybe it's personal time, maybe it's time with my family, maybe it's time to relax, whatever it is, or to attend a seminar like this one, empowering seminar like this one, or a discussion. Whatever I say yes to, that's not ecological for me, is a no to something else. And when I remember this, it's so much easier to say no, because it means that I have options in my hands instead of giving options to others, options to my time, to my health. So that's one advice. Not advice, but tip, say, or strategy. Learn to say yes to no. Okay. Before I go to the next one, I'd like to talk a little bit about to discuss burnout, Dimitri. I see a lot of educators because of the training of Neurolated Power, and which is, as we said before, it's a structured mentoring program. So I see a lot of educators who are burnt out and they have no idea. And this is key to realizing what's happening. Burnout doesn't come in a day or in a minute or in a month. It's a long-term process, and it starts with a phase where you're very well and creative and doing amazingly in our lives, And then the more we like what we're doing, we might start spending more time, wanting to do more things, sleeping less, working more, sleeping less, resting less. So then we go into the onset of stress phase. And then we're not always stressed, but we're sometimes stressed. And we start being depleted of energy. And we start feeling emotionally exhausted. We're less and less satisfied by what we do, and we feel we're not enough. And the more we feel like this, the more we put in work, because we think it's going to be better. If we work harder, it's going to be better, isn't it? That's what we tell ourselves. And it gets worse. So we're going to the next level when we have the chronic stress phase. And in that case, we're always stressed, and we don't even remember what it was like before. And we think we're just tired and it's going to go away, and we don't stop working. So there comes the burnout phase, and in that phase, we just can't function anymore. We isolate ourselves from others because we tell ourselves there is no time. And I know some of us have felt this. I have myself, and I know what it's like. It's a very difficult state to deal with. So the further we go away from other people, the less relational resilience and support we have. And then we lose the meaning. We become cynical about our work. What's the meaning of this? And we go, this affects our work, not logically, because our brain needs support. So what it does is it shuts the creativity part, first of all. And we go back to instructional practices that we used in the past when we were novices, or maybe never, like teaching to the test. And when there are problems in class, like student reactivity, and we don't realize it's maybe because of us, because we are reactive to what our students do. We have difficulty to engage, and this difficulty to engage creates the problems with our students, because learning is in the connections. And through the connections, we know very well that our students sometimes come to the class just to be with us. Isn't it true? And we felt this, we felt this with our students. And through the connections, we can spread happiness in the class. We teach empowering beliefs. We create self-propelled, passionate, happy, successful students. It's connections that do all these things. And when we're in burnout state, connections are not possible. So you see how important it is that we realize what's going on. Don't tell yourself, I'm tired. Recognize the signs, because when we're in this situation, in this state, we have physiological signs and psychological signs. And it's time to learn to pay attention to them. So the first end of the frame, right? We'll go back to the strategies. The first strategy was to say yes.
To know. Learn how to say no, in other words.
Exactly. The second is to have self-compassion. Well, I'm sure we all have a lot of compassion for others. For our partners who were tired, they come back and they want to rest, so we do the housework. For our students who have problems at home, so we support them. For our colleagues, and so on. Self-compassion is acting, it's nothing new. It's just learning to act in the same way towards ourselves as we would do for others. So, for example, instead of ruminating about something that went wrong, and we need to realize that we're humans and we will make mistakes. Instead of beating ourselves up for everything that happens around us, or comparing ourselves with others, it's important to accept who we are, to accept the phase we're in. to help ourselves and to empower ourselves with positive thinking, with positive affirmations. The key question could be, how can I comfort and take care of myself in this moment? Not how can I be perfect? How can I beat myself up? How can I comfort and take care of myself? As I would do for a student of mine, for example. So say yes, say no, the second strategy, say no to self-criticism, to self-loathing, and to negative self-talk, and start, how can I say, loving ourselves. Start feeling compassion for ourselves. So, a second yes, right? And the second no. And there is one more. One more that's very, very, very important. And I'd like us all to sit back. I'd like to invite us to sit back, and I'm doing it myself. Here I'm sitting at on my desk looking at the discussion. So I'd like to invite us to sit back in our chairs, wherever we're sitting, or sofas, or maybe standing, whatever. And put a hand on our chest and a hand on our stomach. And take a deep breath. Now, take a deep breath and let it come out. And take one more. What lifts as if your chest lifts, put a thumb. If your tummy lifts, your stomach lifts, put a heart. Okay, chest. Good. Right. Awesome. Right. So, we generally believe that the most important organ in the, thanks for the reactions. It's beautiful to have this kind of interaction in some way, although this is discussion mostly. So we believe that the most important organ for breathing is the lungs. The truth is that the most important organ for breathing is the diaphragm. And the diaphragm rests below the lungs, and what it does is it moves and supports the breathing. Empowering breathing comes from the diaphragm. And to do that, normally when we inhale, our stomach needs to go out instead of in. So try to do this now. Take a deep breath and let your stomach expand. And when you take a breath out, let your stomach contract. This is actually what we call diaphragmatic breathing. And it's the key to personal power and strength. There are a lot of benefits in diaphragmatic breathing, and I would suggest that we look into them. And it takes only 10 minutes a day to sit somewhere quietly and do this for ourselves. It's the most self-compassionate gift that we can give ourselves. Breathe in and out. It's silly to say that we need to remember to breathe, isn't it, Dimitris? Because we were born breathing.
When teachers are desperate, they can do all sorts of things. I've heard of stories of teachers who are desperate and they start singing in the car. So obviously some breathing exercises could help.
Oh, they do a lot. Because what they do is they allow the brain to take to tell. Let's not make it too complicated, but actually the amygdala is the area of the brain that controls feeling. So, stress, excuse me. So when we take deep breaths, what we tell the class now. So it's the best gift that we can give ourselves. Instead of holding our breath when we're stressed, take a deep breath before you react. And this is the key to success in many, effective dealing with situations, any situations, inside the class and out. Right, so 3 different strategies, right? Wow, it's already 6:43. That's amazing. Time is flying when you're having interesting discussions, doesn't it?
And such an interactive audience, I have to say.
Oh, yes, that's true. It was amazing. So this was from me, Dimitris. I don't know if anyone wants to ask something.
I think, Effie, I really like what you said, particularly the part, because we often forget, we tend to love our students, but we often forget to love ourselves. And I really like the practical tips that you've given us. So thank you very much for being with us. And we'll be with you next Sunday, but this time we're going to be in the morning at 11 a.m. Greek time. With Luke Prodromou, who will be talking about classrooms and glassrooms, but I'm not allowed to reveal what he means by that. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Effie. Yes?
Excuse me, that email address, please.
Yes, I'll have that on the post. That's the only place where I can share the information, so I will have Effie's email on the post.
Good, great. And
on LinkedIn.
Yes, for anyone who wants to contact me with anything about neuro learning or training or any ideas that you want to ask any questions. Thank you for Dimitri. It's been amazing. I love our reactive audience, not reactive but interactive actually, and it's a very interesting way of sharing inspiration, isn't it? Through LinkedIn.
And it's amazing to see people from all over the world.
Yes.
Well, thank you all very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much, Effie.
Thank you everyone. It's been amazing. Thank you, Dimitris, for the invitation.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.